And then, of course, whoever has the most right gets the $50 gift card. If we have a tiebreaker, I got a question for the tie. All right, so number one. This is number one leading cause of decline of Pennsylvania grouse. Well, letter C, West Nile. Adult female turkeys are called hens and juvenile females are called? Jenny is correct, A. This wildlife management unit had the highest number of deer harvested in 22-23. C, 2D. Waterfowl hunters are limited to using this type of shot. Non-toxic. Uh-oh, we got a game warden in the room. I better not tell that story. Okay. Steel, C. Safety zone for archery hunters is A, 50 yards. True or false? Minimum caliber rifle muzzleloader for hunting is 44 caliber. True or false? True. That's a rifled muzzleloader. You can go lesser. Well, you're the professional on that. Can you go lesser with a shotgun? It's 44. Okay. True or false? It is said it is safe to eat rabbits after the first frost. True. What is the maximum number of turkeys you can harvest in Pennsylvania in a licensed year? 3. 2 gobblers and a hen. Oh. Somebody's going to have to help me on this because I didn't write them down. Name 3 of 9 counties that fall into Wildlife Management 2G. Clearfield's definitely in it, I think. Huh? Tioga, Potter, Elk, McKean, Lycoming, Center, Clinton, and Cameron. So if you have 3 of those, you're good. When was the first Pennsylvania hunting license sold? C, 1913. What was the cost of the first Pennsylvania hunting license? $1. When was the Pennsylvania Board of Commissioners created? 1895. When was it changed to Pennsylvania Game Commission? 1937. What year was the compound bow made legal? 1973. When was fluorescent orange required to hunt deer, bear, and groundhogs? This one here, when I saw this, I wouldn't have got this right. That tricked me. 1980. How long is the plumage transformation? Now, there's some different opinions on this, but my answer is right tonight. How long is the plumage transformation on average for a bald eagle to have a white head? 5.5 years. True or false? A doe fawn can come into estrus if it reaches 80 pounds that winter. That is true. Seen it happen a couple times, 3 times. Which state has the largest deer population? Texas. How much does a bear cub weigh at birth? I did? Okay, well, bear cub weighs 8 ounces. What did I miss? Oh. Well, there's no question there. Sorry, what's that? Oh, I don't have that on mine because I did a proofread and I had to reprint. Okay. Is 6. Is that true or false? That is true. All right. I think I'm safe to say to anybody I'm sure nobody got 20. Anybody 15 or more? Anybody 10 or somebody has, how many you have? 15. Nobody else has 15? Oh, okay, sorry. $15? We got two 15s. Anybody else? I didn't hear that. Anybody else with 15? Huh? I cannot hear anything. It's too much chatter. What? All right. So Mark Huffman, John Mingle, tied at 15. All right, here's the tie. Here is the tiebreaker. Without, you can go over, you can go under. It's whoever's closest. What is the score of the number one non-typical whitetail in Pennsylvania? The number one. What's the score of it? Shot by Eric Carnes in Clearfield County. So now, I'll tell you what, write your numbers down because the weather's going to counter. So, write your answer on that paper. What'd you do? Okay.
You say non-typical.
Non-typical. Wow. Okay. John Mingle guessed, what was it again? 214. Mark guessed 231. The answer is 228 and 6/8. $50 gift card for Base Camp Outfitters in Newport. Good job. Okay. We are going to get... Now, I am curious on how many did the game warden get right? Are you serious? Well, why didn't you raise your hand? You're right. Hey, one thing, we're going to get our first speaker up. One thing I want to mention, Mifflinburg Variety, all those pens donated by them, and they got their setup over there. I don't know if anybody's ever been to Mifflinburg Variety in Mifflinburg. If you're looking for hunting boots or any kind of work boot and good hikers, it's some quality stuff. They also donated a $250 pair of Danners this evening for a door prize. So be sure to stop by them, tell them thanks, and we're going to get rolling.
Thanks, Scott, for that fun round of trivia. We're going to get started with our speakers tonight. How many of you hunt with a 30-30 or a 32 special, a lever gun? Okay, what's your range? How far can you shoot? 110, okay. Anybody else further with a lever gun? Okay, 131. How about a bigger caliber, say a 270 or a 30-06? What's the furthest anybody's killed one? 300 yards? 400 yards? 470? Okay, how many have ever seen a deer that probably 500 yards or further away and wished you could have shot but knew your gun would not do the job? Okay, I'm sure we've all saw lots of deer that were way far away and we couldn't get a shot at them because we just knew our wonderful trophy rifle that sits in the cabinet that we get out once a year wouldn't do the job. Well, that's because you wear glasses. And I can say that because he's my uncle. Well, tonight we have a fellow that's going to come and share with us that has a gun that can reach out and touch someone. And he's been very successful hunting out west as well as here in Pennsylvania. So tonight we're going to have Flint Minium come and share about long-range hunting.
coming out. Right there, he's out. There he stopped. Ready there. Yep. Now that was right over his back. I mean, just like you. He's down. He's down. He's down. There he is. You got him, Flint. You got him. He's dead. He's laying right here. He just fell over. You got him, dude. That's a freaking stud. Yes. Oh, man. He just freaking tipped over.
Yeah, so that was my first time watching that video also, the whole thing. Thank you, Nate. Well, my name is Flint Minium, and I do a lot of long-range hunting. I have been successful. I think I shot my first animal long range. It was 630 yards. It was a black bear, and Scott likes to say about this one. It was up at the PA Grand Canyon, walking a mile to our spot, and it's not a trail. It's tough. It's hard work. We get back there, and we carry that tripod, these spotting scopes here, the tripod, other spotting scopes. There's just so much weight that you actually have to carry, and we get it back there, and it was right away in the morning. It was like 7:45 in the morning, first day of bear season, and this bear comes out. I yell at my dad. I was like, "Dad, there's a bear." He comes running over, and I'm like, "All right, get on it." First shot, he's like, I didn't see it. And that's the worst thing, not being able to see the first shot, because you don't know what the wind's doing. I don't care what the snipers say. You don't know what the wind's doing out in the canyon. There's no way to tell unless it's snowing. And he's like, I didn't see it. Smoke clears. There's a dead bear laying there. So it's like, hey, I got a bear. So we walk all of our stuff back out up the canyon. We bike ride down in. It's 6.5 mile bike ride down the rails trails. Hike up the side, which is not fun. I know Brian Kaufman likes to hunt the canyon, and it is not fun hiking up the side. And I was 15 at the time, and get up there, and there's a gut pile. No bear. So I think Scott was able to see the bear dead, and I didn't. So at the top of the canyon, the rim is actually posted, and we were down from the rim probably 75 yards. And somehow this guy walking along the rim hopped off his four-wheeler, seen it. Other guys said they've watched the guy shoot from the hip. I don't know. Wasn't there. I was too busy trying to get it, riding down through. But that was a memorable hunt. That was the first one we killed. And then my second most memorable hunt, just kind of get the hunting here. We have another spot down in Bedford. So we only hunt state ground because, I mean, to have a whole mountainside, you got to be rich, and even if you have the whole mountainside, you don't own the other mountainside to be able to shoot onto it. So that's the tough part. That's what I'm so thankful for, state land, park land, anything that we can hunt on. So, but down there in Bedford, it's Buchanan National Forest. It's great. I got there. Dad got out, we got set up. It wasn't a far walk in. And my cousin was with, and my dad already shot a deer with the bow, so he already filled his tag. So then we're looking, and he's like, hey, I see a buck. So we didn't even take all the stuff in. So he ran back, started getting stuff. We had the spotting scopes. That was it. I'm looking at like, man, that is a big buck. And I really wanted to kill a big buck. This was probably, I think we were married for a year or two. So it wasn't terribly long ago, about 8 years ago. So he gets all the stuff, and I'm there, and I'm like, I really want to shoot a big buck, because it was a nice buck. And I shoot the first shot. I think it was 890 yards. And again, we don't know the wind. You can see the wind blowing right at you. It doesn't matter what it's doing right at you. It's out there, because you can have wind blowing to the right. You get out there. The wind's actually blowing to the left, so you're hitting 10 feet to the left at times if you're out there far enough, but that's pretty far, and that's really windy, so we're not normally shooting in that type of wind. So then I shoot the second shot and I still miss. But now I'm on. Like third shot, I'm getting it. But that deer ran the whole way out the mountain. That was one of the only ones of deer that just kept running. I don't know why. Bear always do that, but deer normally stay there. So meanwhile, as we're doing that, there's these other 2 buck. So the one was a little bit smaller, nothing great, nothing big. And then the one was really small, just this tiny little 6-point. So my dad was like, hey, cousin gets on the gun. First shot, bang. That little bit smaller one, dead. And Dad was like, well, we want to double up today. Why don't you shoot that other one? I said, no. I'm waiting on the big one. About an hour goes by. All right, I'll shoot the little one. So I get up the gun, bang, there's the little one. And I mean, it was little. It was a legal buck. But man, did they make fun of me. And then I think it was a week later, took my wife down, and we found it there. So then we hiked into this other spot. Again, carrying that tripod through Mount Laurel is not fun, any of the other stuff. So I think we got to 600 yards or 650, somewhere in there, and my wife shot the buck, and I think it scored 129. So for public land, that's a pretty good buck. As far as the shooting, which is what one's interested in, hunting stories, yeah. But the PA long-range hunt is totally different than out west. Out west, most places out west, you can go, you can throw your pack down, you got a clearing, you can shoot way farther than I can shoot. With this gun here, off that tripod, I've shot rocks out to 1,550 yards, and I mean, it shoots great. Again, the only thing you really got to worry about is the wind. There are some times people aren't perfect, ammo isn't perfect. Once in a while you get a flyer, and a lot of people are like, you get that flyer, it's not worth doing. Ethically, is it worth doing? It's like, normally we're far enough that flyer hits so far out, we don't even adjust for it. So, but that thing is great, but you don't want to carry it in far. And the canyon, we carry it in, it's only a mile. I really started getting into, in PA we have so much, like up north, we got McKean County, Potter County, Tioga County. You got places that you can go far back in and get to a spot. You got to find a spot that's open to do it, and that's the hardest part, is if you can get there to do it and see across. And then the other hard part is those spotting scopes are heavy. Got to carry them in. You can do it with the single, but it is so much eye fatigue just all day long, just looking one eye. If you've ever done it, I know out west, guys use binoculars. Again, it's open out west. You can typically see an elk. A lot of times you can see an elk with your naked eye, but a pair of 8-power binoculars work great out west. Here, these are 22 power side by side. I mean, really glass quality. I think they were built, they're Bushnell Space Masters, built back in the 70s in Japan. And I don't know of anything, well, I do know things. For the price of them, I don't know of anything that works as good as that. You can get new, well, you can go to Lost Creek and you can find out what you can get new there. But as far as the shooting aspect, it all really comes down to a lot of things. Human error plays into effect if you don't have good shooting fundamentals. Really, you've seen the picture of my boy up there shooting. That's where it starts, is just getting the kids out there to learn. Yeah, I mean, I let my boy, he's 5, let him do everything. Obviously, don't do that the first time. But just to get him out there and doing it, and then showing him every bit of it. Don't just load it for him, then here, pull the trigger. Have him loading it, unloading it, all that stuff. The fundamentals is where that's a lot of it. But then the gun itself, this is a custom built on a Remington 700 Action, and it's not a competition winner. It's not. Competition winner, those are single shot, bolt action. With that single shot, this magazine rail coming up through, There's still so much vibration. You're not getting I think the world record now is like 2-inch or 1.5 inches, something like that, 10 shots at 1,000 yards, which is crazy. This gun is not doing that. I think I can get 15 inches at 1,000 yards, 10 shots. It's not the barrel for it. The barrel starts to heat up. And so then that's the next thing. A lot of people ask, can you do it with a factory rifle? That's probably what I get asked the most. And a couple years ago, I would have said definitely not. So many people asked me. I wanted to try it. So I bought my wife a brand new gun. Obviously, I didn't need two. So I tried it also with, and it was just kind of to break the barrel in, with factory ammo. 100% you cannot do it with factory gun with factory ammo. And that puts a hindrance on a lot of people because, yeah, to reload is cheaper when you have everything. If you do a lot of shooting, it is cheaper. Getting components right now to reload is miserable. I even had to switch. I was using a certain powder. I ran out of powder trying to work up a load on that. And I had a great load, and I looked everywhere on the internet, called all kinds of stores. Nobody has it. And that is the most frustrating part. But I did then switch, and what worked in that, so what I had before, I didn't really start shooting much. I didn't work up another load. I feel confident to say you can do it with a factory rifle now with hand loading. It takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of workup to do that. It takes a lot of money. I don't know why our government, well, never mind. So anyway, I think I'm paying 65 cents a bullet now. And then the powder, I mean, I paid $60 for a pound of powder. I can get 100 rounds out of that. So, and then if you're already set up, like I was lucky, my dad already had all the reloading stuff. I mean, I had to buy new dies, but that's having the press already. I was able to, he had powder, but I ran out of that, and I'm trying to find him more. But getting the bullets, I think I already have 50 rounds of hand loads through that already, and I'm back at square one because I didn't realize I couldn't get any more powder. So when you're starting out, you want to make sure you have, and it might not even work, the load that you think is going to work, it might not even work. That powder, primers make a difference, the bullets, but you got to start with, you can start with what you have. Get as far as you can with that. Scope quality, I don't think you can really skimp on scope quality. I really like to bust on the Vortex guys, but they make some expensive Vortex that are all right, I guess. But I like the Leopolds. I have the Mark IVs on both of these. I don't think they make them anymore. I think you got to go up to a Mark V now, and you're at a whole lot more price with that too. So while it is possible to do it with a factory gun, it's really hard to do it on a budget. I think in total with the gun, the scope, and all the ammo, I think I'm still up around, I think it was like close to $3,000 just to get that to where I can start shooting. So it is not a cheap hunting hobby. And it's not an easy one. Anytime you're shooting, unless you own fields that you can shoot 1,000 yards in an open field and drive your buggy there, which great on you. It is hard work. I've packed, I think when I pack in, I have right around 60, 70 pounds on my back, and then normally I'm carrying a tripod and a gun yet too. And then when we shoot something, well, you've seen biking out a deer on the back of a trailer. It is physically demanding, but a lot of people like doing that. I enjoy it. It seems like where I'm at now, the harder the hunt, the more enjoyable it is. It's not just the kill. I mean, I do love the kill. It's fun, but and bear hunting is also hard. PA bear hunting, you shoot one shot, and I don't know if we have shot down in Bedford at a bear at 900 yards, and it doesn't seem to matter what distance you shoot at a bear once, and they are running. I don't know what makes them different from deer, but anytime you take a shot, they run. We've shot at elk out west before, and a lot of people say, oh, elk can skyline you and they'll run. Well, that's not necessarily true. We shot at elk and they just stood there and looked at us. So bear is probably the toughest thing to kill, but I would say we see more bear than anyone up there at the canyon. If you have a good spot for bear, long range is definitely the way. I think I killed the one they took. I think we killed 6 bear total now. And we've seen so many already, but it is hard to get them. And then people ask, is it ethically right to shoot at animals? Some people even say 200 yards, should you even have the scope on? That's one of those things where, frankly, I don't care what you think. Really, when you say that, I don't. And that's where the anti-hunters like to get us fighting amongst ourselves once they get one thing, they go after the next, and they go after the next. And they do that with us fighting amongst ourselves. Should this be legal? Should this not be legal? Should bear baiting be legal? It doesn't matter. I don't want them to take anything away. If you want to shoot them with a howitzer, I don't care. Like artillery, do a call for fire, that's fine. Whatever you want to do. But ethically, we shoot 1,000 yards. We're watching a whole mountainside. I don't know how many acres it is, but it's like 1,000 feet up at the canyon it's probably close to 3/4 mile long we can see. We normally always get a follow-up shot. And if we make a bad shot on the first one, it's normally always because of the wind, or like you get one bad round, you didn't take your time on that one, but we always normally get a follow-up shot. So wounded deer, it's not hard to put it out. So it's not like we're perfect. I've seen guys doing drives at 100 yards that they damage some deer, and it's like, well, that's how it goes. It's hunting. No one's perfect. But so yeah, I guess if you have any questions about any of this later in the night, if you want to get involved, I love taking people. Like I said, one of the most fun hunts, taking my wife hunting, taking other guys hunting, even though some of them can't shoot Isaac. So, yeah, that's pretty much what I got on long range hunting. So,
Thank you, Flint. Okay, we're going to do a little something different as the night goes for transition to the next speaker. We're going to do a couple door prizes, but we're kind of doing this backwards because everybody's ticket is in that bucket. So we're going to give this 22 Savage. You want to hold that up? 22 Savage. Everybody's ticket is in this. Everybody get a ticket. Did everybody get a ticket? If you didn't get one, you need to get it like quick. Everybody got a ticket. All right. The first 3 numbers are the same on everybody, so I'm only going to give you the last 3 digits. Sydney, grab a ticket. You want to grab a ticket? I shook them up. Pick me a ticket. Winning number is 496. 496. Okay, I just need to see your ticket. You don't have a criminal record, right? No, but we will get together at the end here, get phone number, and then we'll meet over at Schlegel's True Value Hardware in Thompson Town. Okay, we'll do the transfer. Okay. And your name? Outlaw Willow. Okay. All right, congratulations. Okay, another door prize. Or I'll put that gun back in the box. Thank you. Fishing rod, Shimano fishing rod. Any kids want to pick tickets, come up here. Well, not all of you, but a couple. Fishing rod, 429. Grab another one. 429, anybody have 429? Oh, okay, you want to deliver that, please? Double check his, wait, what's that number there? Yeah, I'm sorry. $25 gift card from Mifflinburg Variety, 566. 566. Can I get a runner? Volunteered runner. Okay. Pick a number. Pick a ticket. Yep. Okay. Up there he's got. Take this one. Okay. Fishing Creel, 507. Compliments of Kramer Sportsman's Club, or Kramer Sporting Goods. Just 507, just confirm the number. Okay, a brick of 22s, pick a number. 560. 560. Here. Just confirm it. We got a wrist sling for a bow. $441. Oscar?
No, I got to deliver to this guy.
Okay. Okay, we got a fluorescent orange hat, and this is a woman's size orange zippered, but youth or teenagers could possibly wear it. Go ahead, little guy, pick a ticket. Grab that from me. 484. And mix these up. We got a lot of 4. We're gonna do one more, and then we're gonna go to the next speaker. All right, this is Twisted Tines skull cleaning. This is Jesse Stoffer down close to the old trail. So this is I think he's $106. Go ahead, Eddie, pick me a number. He does washing, and he does power washing and bleach. He doesn't do beetles. There are guys that are fussy. So if you don't like this one, give it to somebody. But 470. But I just had him, right here. I just had him do 2 this year for me. He does a really nice job. So Twisted Tines. Okay, let's go to the next speaker.
All right, I'll introduce my buddy Sylvan Martin, but first I want to say to Flint, my first year in the canyon, where is Flint? My first year in the canyon, I had the 30-30 and saw one across, and there was nothing I could do about it. But, yeah. Sylvan and Nathan Martin, good friends of mine from church here. I just want to introduce them there. Sylvan and I, we talk quite a bit. We both have jobs where we can just yak on our earbuds, so. Boy, I tell you what, you talk about a guy that's tore up about out west hunting. I mean, that is just what he breathes and sleeps, and you podcast it all up. I mean, they went out this year and they had some success, so they're going to give that story. Both of them did. So we'll introduce these guys and have at her.
I really didn't work that hard today. I just feel like sitting down with you all, so I hope you don't mind. I really wanted to, before I forget, was it Twisted Tines? Is that the name of it? They did Nathan's bull. Jesse did, and I thought he did a great job. So if you want to see the work that he did, you can come up and check it out. We usually do our own, but basically I didn't have anything big enough to cook this big skull off. So Nathan and I went to Colorado this fall, and the the first week we went out a week early. Nathan drew a mule deer tag, which depending on what state you're in and which unit, it can be very difficult. So I've only been out once for mule deer. I think it took me 8 years to draw that, and I've been pulling preference points ever since. I'm up to 9 again. I might have a chance to draw one. So it's a tough tag to get. So Nathan, as a youth hunter, this was his last year as a youth, he was able to draw. They give a little more preference for youth hunters. So he pulled a tag. So it was kind of a big deal for him. And it was his first time out. It was his senior class gift. Never been out west before. So we went out a week early. This would have been last week of October. We went out and we went on a backpacking trip. We did a lot of glassing. I covered a lot of ground just trying to find him a big muley. So we spent, you have any? Okay. I didn't know we were going to do this. We might have been a little more prepared. So we covered, the first few days, we covered about 15 miles, just glassing, walking, hiking, and spent a night in the hammocks. Then we we had to cut our trip short because we ran out of water. It got pretty hot out, and we cut it about a day short and went back into town. And you have any of that big elk? We were just trying to find him something big, and basically I just wanted to spend some quality time with my son. We found a big bull. We did find a real nice mule deer, not a giant. It's nice. It was a little bit bigger than the one that he shot, which is laying over there. Not a giant, but it was a nice one. The difference is it was miles and miles back in compared to where we ended up finding his. So the guys, there were 7 of us in camp. The rest of the guys got out later in the week. And when they got out, bring up pictures of horses. Something new for me this year is, I guess we're all getting a little older. We decided to get some horses and mules. So basically, we contacted an outfitter out there who, there's actually 3 women showed up with 2 horse trailers and I think 4 mules and 3 horses, loaded everything up, packed I have no idea how much it weighs, but it's outfitter tents and a bunch of gear and food for 7 guys for a week. It's a lot of weight. We've carried it up for years. It's just how it's done. Now, again, we're kind of transitioning over to doing things a little bit easier. And so that was a whole new experience. If you've never worked with pack animals, it's different. It's easier, and it's a whole different headache all at the same time. But it does save your back. So the season started on a Saturday morning. We woke up that morning to kind of a blizzard. There's only a couple inches of snow, but the temperatures had dropped. And I think Nathan and I were the only ones that left camp that morning. We hunted one of the closer areas to our camp, and right away, off in the, I'll say distance, it was a few hundred yards, we could see some elk. And I put the binos on it, and I said, I don't think either of them's legal. They were up there pushing each other around in the storm and the snow, and I got the spotting scope out, and it was only 300 yards. It wasn't real far, but the visibility was really low. I said, that one is legal. But till we got him on it, couldn't keep the scopes clean and never got a shot. That was Saturday. Sunday night, big storm. Got the weather forecast, big storm coming in. So we, that following morning, Sunday morning, we had the same plan. We didn't get real far from camp. There's a lot of snow down. It got cold. Went back to the same spot. Ended up seeing a group of mule deer with a good buck in it. Nathan said, yeah, hey, I think I'd like that one. That looks pretty good. So we took off after that. We watched them feed into the timber. We just couldn't close the distance in time. Come morning, they're generally heading for timber. And you have a limited amount of time to get on them before they're gone, unless you want to get in and try to, then you might push them off. So we didn't close the distance in time, no shots, turned around, started moving the other way, glassing, and he spotted a real nice one in a block of timber. Tried to put a stalk on him, had two other hunters kind of move in and bust him out of the timber. Didn't happen, which is fine. We were on animals, and the so much of Western hunting, in my experience, and I am not extremely experienced, but I have spent a few seasons out there, weather is just huge. The colder and the more snow in general, the better it's going to be. The animals are going to be on their feet more. They're going to want to be out in the open pastures. They're going to want sunshine. So the first few days, we definitely had weather on our side. Monday, did I miss anything? Saturday, Sunday? Monday, same plan-ish. Nathan went to the same spot above camp with two of our friends that were in camp with us. I tried something different, didn't work out. I wanted to cover some ground, but the snow had froze overnight, and I just couldn't get anywhere without spooking game. And I didn't get real far before I hear shots up on the top of the mountain. I knew, well, that's Nathan either shooting a mule deer or the other guys are shooting at elk, because he was the only guy in camp with a mule deer tag. So I turned around and started working my way back up the mountain. I get to the top.
So we got to the top of the ridge there around daybreak, and we're sitting there glassing, and just as the sun starts to come up over the ridge behind us, we start picking out mule deer one at a time, and sure enough, there's a pretty nice buck that's in there with him, and I'm like, I'm going to take that one. But we range it, and it's about 350 yards, which I could shoot, but I figured I could get closer for a more comfortable shot. So I slip down over the side of the ridge, and it's sort of almost a U shape. And I walk around the side, and then I peek up over, and they're at about 250 yards. So I drop to my knees, and I crawl up to some sagebrush, clear off the snow, and set my gun up on it. And my heart was racing. I got on the mule deer, but I could not stay steady on it. I was all over the place, and so I just put the gun down, sat back, took a deep breath, said a little prayer, pulled back up on it, took one big deep breath, and then I slowly squeezed the trigger and click. I forgot to put a bullet in the chamber. So that gave me a little mini heart attack, and I quickly work the action, go to put a bullet in, and the bullet won't go into the chamber, so I rip it out. And the night before, I had dropped my bullets in the snow when I was unloading my gun, and I wasn't thinking. I put them right back in, and they had frozen to the clip. So I just tossed the clip to the side, and I get bullets out, and I'm hand loading one into the chamber. I quick close the action, pull up on them, and they're slowly starting to feed away from me. So I start panicking a little bit. I'm waiting. Finally, he turns broadside, and I just slowly squeeze, and this time the gun went off, and he hunched up a little bit. So I put another bullet in the chamber and shot him again, and he just dropped. So I stood up, I celebrated, and looked off to the other people that were with me across the ridge, and then I called him, and he came up, and we went and took a little bit to find it because it was down in a little gully, but we found it, we packed it out, and yeah, it was just really awesome experience. But we went back to camp, had a good lunch. Like every other meal, we ate so much food. It was just awesome. But for the evening hunt, we all sort of split up a little bit, and I decided I was going to go up to what we called the high point. It was sort of the highest point there, and I went up over behind it down into this timber where he hunted before, and he said he got into elk. And I'm walking down the trail, and I see this large pile of rocks, and I think I'm going to go look up over them. So I go peek up right over top, and sure enough, there's a herd of elk sitting down there at about 250 yards. So I quick lay flat on this rock, trying not to spook them or skyline or anything. But I'm just in my undershirt, and the wind's blowing, and I'm laying there in the snow, and I start freezing. But I'm watching this herd of elk, one after the other. I counted 40 of them, all cows. And the whole time behind me, there was another herd of cows just up over the rise that was cow calling back and forth to the ones in front of me. So after all these in front of me get by, I wait about 10 minutes, and then I slip up back behind me to see if I can catch the ones that were calling back there. And I look around, can't find anything, so I slip back down to my rock to grab my stuff. And sure enough, there's a bull standing down there, almost where them other ones were. So I pull the gun out, make sure I'm on him, and I have the safety off this time with a bullet in the chamber. And deep breath, squeeze the trigger, it goes off, and the bull just stands there. And later I went back and ranged it, because I just guessed around where I thought it would be, and I was way off. Really far off. But I ended up missing them, but I thought that the herd started running off, so I took off after them, and I'm running down the side of the mountain, and just up over this big rock, I see the head of a cow pop up. So I quick lay down on my back, and I scoot down to the edge of this rock, and I peek up over it, and about 75 yards away is the herd of elk just standing there looking around, not sure what to do, and sure enough, the bull's right there in the middle of them all. So I get the gun up, lay it on the rock, and I'm just watching him walk through the timber. Every time he walks through an opening, there's a cow in front of him, so I can't shoot. And while I'm watching these, that group that was behind me earlier starts coming up over the top, and they come up behind me. And they see me, and they start running, and they all started running, so I whipped the gun over into this big opening that I thought they were going to run through. And sure enough, the bull stopped right in my crosshairs. I didn't even have to move it. Pulled the trigger, and he just stood there and flopped right to the ground. And it was awesome. Called him, told him that he better get his butt up there and help me clean this thing up, and then said a little prayer and took some cool pictures. But
So at this point, we've got a mule deer down, he's got a bull down, and the success rate in Colorado it's under 20%. So I'm feeling really, really good. I told him, like, I'm really at peace with this hunt. Like, everything is going well. And he's like, Dad, you can tag out. Like, got one bull tag, we're tug out. I was like, I'm very happy at this point. But I still do have that tag burning in my pocket, and no one likes to eat tag soup, so I just got the warning, we got to speed it up here. So that was Monday, so Nathan shot his mule deer Monday morning, he shot his bull Monday evening, so things are going great. One of the other guys shot a bull the same evening. Nathan and I cut that up ourselves, hung it in a tree, took off for camp. We got back to camp about 10 o'clock that night. Jumped right to Wednesday. I went back Wednesday evening. I went back to the same area where he shot his. And there's a lot of elk there. Got into a whole bunch of them. Passed up on a small one, about 500 yards. Had the scope, it dialed, was on them. But I heard a bunch screaming down below me, and I just had to go see what was down there. So I quick circled down around, got a little lower, and tried to make it short. They ended up feeding right into me. I had a bull down below me. It was 290 yards. There was another one that was screaming that I couldn't see. In back of my head, I'm just telling myself, that's the big one, that's the big one. You got to wait. But then a little voice said, you know what, you better just take this guy. He's right here. Just take him. So 290 yards, shot him 3 times. He was dead on the first shot. But the rule of thumb is if they're still moving, you just keep shooting because they're a big animal. So I was shooting a 300 Win Mag Sacco S20. with 200 grain ELDX. Nathan was using a little 7M 08 with 140 grain Nosler Accubond for any of you guys who like that sort of thing. It worked great. I cut that up. I was really far from camp, and we actually had a really busy evening. Another guy shot a bull, another guy hit a bull, so everybody was scrambling. So I said, don't even bother coming back. I cut this bull up, hung it in a tree, kind of the same thing, took off, got back to camp about 10 o'clock. A gang of us came in the next morning, and we carried everything out, and it was just... I was out a few years prior. My oldest son shot the mule deer there that's mounted. And I said, that trip just could not have gone better. Well, Nathan, our trip somehow went even better. So just thank God for that. We had a phenomenal trip. And if there's anybody out there who has an itch to go west, urge you to do it. Figure out a way to do it and get it done, and wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you, Sylvan. Thanks, guys. Okay, some more door prizes. I need a runner. Need some people pulling tickets. Go ahead. We're gonna do a couple of these, and we'll get you up there. Shimano fishing rod, 454. Here, back shit up. $25 Mike Kramer gift card. Don't some of you young ones come up here so I don't have to walk around. 511. $25 base camp outfitters. 508. A&L wood hoodie, fluorescent orange. Five 551. R.J. Huffman and Sons Lumber in Mount Pleasant Mills, a hat. Pick a number. 480. Bag of hand warmers, I just picked this one. 498. 498, back there, middle table. Okay, this is a unique one. Brian Kaufman standing there in the black shirt. He actually spoke for us here a couple years ago. He's donating. He's got some good rabbit dogs. He's donating a half-day rabbit hunt with beagles during the 24-25 season. You and one other hunter, I will have a property to hunt. Contact Brian. That's on the certificate if you win this certificate. So half a day. He said maybe it'll go longer if it's really good. If you don't do rabbit hunting, it's a good Christmas gift for somebody. 516. 516. Down the middle. Hey. Huh? Oh. 402. 402. In the back. Brick of 22s. Pick a ticket. Brick of 22s. 481. 481 there. Another large orange hoodie from A&L. 549. 549. Keep them coming. There's a hunting sign. It's a metal sign. Go ahead, Sydney. $478. 478. Buddy heater. Pick a ticket. Buddy heater. What you got? 503. 503. There in the second table. What is it called?
It's just a 3-pin bow sight.
Oh, okay. I thought you said something. Okay, it's an Allen make 3-pin bow sight. 471. 471. Another brick of 22s. 556. Okay, all right. All right, we're just going to take a little commercial break here. This is going on another ministry in our church, but just a couple minutes here. John Aldifer wants to share.
I was asked to share a hunting story tonight very quickly. I know I'm not on the schedule, but I'm hunting for men. We are having a men's retreat here in a few weeks, the 24th through the 26th of March at Christian Retreat Center in East Waterford. It's a all Friday night through Sunday event. Men, I know some of you are from outside this church. If you're looking for a men's retreat to come to, I encourage you to talk to me or any of the guys that are up front here. They know about it too, but it's a good time to just sit back and reflect on your own life, look into God's Word and have fun. We do a sporting clay shoot. Some of the guys are going golfing and some different things that we do Saturday afternoon to create some activity and have fun, but it's always been a blessing to serve in this way. So I shout out to you men, if you from our church, if you haven't signed up, and if you are interested in going, we have a bunch of spots available yet, so don't be bashful.
Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming again. Don't be afraid to get seconds on dessert. There's plenty there. Take some home with you, too, if you want. I'm going to introduce our last speaker, Neil Glick, a very good friend of mine and a mentor. Very avid hunter and outdoorsman. He's been to a lot of states, owns ground in Kentucky. He can hunt about anything. He can kill a lot of turkeys. But he got a pretty unique hunt out west this year that he's going to tell us about and give you some details on that. So welcome, Neil Glick. Also, he had a little technical difficulty with the slideshow, so give him a little grace.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'm the stranger here tonight, I guess. It sounds like everybody else knows the speakers before me. So I'm Neil Glick. If the name sounds familiar, I'm the guy that's trying to get your church built across the street. We'll get there, I promise. And like Kevin said, tech is a nemesis of mine, it seems. So I kept Nathan and Merv busy for a while there this evening, and we still have to do this kind of the wrong way. But I like pictures, lots of them. I take lots of them, so I got a bunch of them ready to go, and then I got here and realized some of them you're probably not going to be able to see what's in them very well, but we're going to run through them anyway. When Kevin asked me about talking here tonight, I didn't really hesitate. He said I can just tell a story, and I like to talk about hunting, and especially out west. So then he told me I have 15 to 20 minutes, and I thought, man, that's a challenge. So I'm going to try. Go ahead, Merv. I'm going to try to do some hand signals, so Merv, so I'm not waving at you every time I'm waving at Merv, so I don't have to tell him to change it. I've been fortunate to make a number of trips out west, a dozen or so hunting trips, family vacation for 3 or 4 weeks. My wife and I did a winter getaway. Nearly every trip to the west, though, I find a way to make it about hunting or scouting for some sort of thing. Most of us dream of big antlers, horns, melon heads, whatever you want to dream about that are trophies, and social media kind of fuels the notion that the West is just chock full of trophies. So we go out there, I think, with some pretty grand dreams of going back with a 6x6 bull or a 30-inch muley, and we might pull that off. But hunting the West, especially if you're not going to hunt with an outfitter or not on private land, I think Sylvan would agree, it's still hunting. If you go with reasonable expectations and hope to just have a good adventure, you're probably going to have a good time. and good chance you get to shoot something that's a representative animal. I'd like to hunt a bighorn ram someday. I put in for a couple of tags in multiple states in the lower 48 every year, but the odds of drawing those things is like 1 in 5,000. Like, it's probably not going to happen for me. But I keep trying. These days I find myself valuing the experience more, though, and the trophy a little less. I've got a house full of taxidermy. There's no more room in PAME office for mounts. I really don't need another mount. Still like to go and try, though. But for some of these hard to draw species like bighorn sheep, I also put in for female tags. My logic is that I get to have basically the same experience. I'm gonna hunt the same animals, I'm gonna put the same physical effort into it, pack out meat, hopefully. And mostly I'm gonna go experience someplace that I probably wouldn't even go if I didn't have that tag in my pack. So last year, I beat 5% odds and drew a bighorn ewe tag in Wyoming, one of just 5 for the whole state for non-residents. The tag's for an area where bighorns have been restored probably the last 15 years or so in the Ferris Mountains, which is central Wyoming. Those mountains are on the edge of the Red Desert. It's kind of an island mountain range. It's dry there. It's very remote. We did have cell service, but there's really not much there. But rugged, rocky, beautiful place. These mountains top out around 10,000 feet, which is about right for a do-it-yourselfer like me, who drives a desk for a living far too much. Most of this area that I was hunting was burned 10 or 15 years ago by a wildfire, so you can kind of see in the pictures there's not much timber. Sheep numbers in this area had climbed to the point where biologists were getting concerned about disease outbreaks. The sheep weren't spreading out very good, especially the females. So it was kind of crowded, and they issued these yo tags to cut down the population a little bit. Go ahead, Merv. So I did some internet research. I talked with the biologist, like you're supposed to do for the unit out there, and he was extremely helpful. I do recommend doing that if you draw a tag. My wife, my daughter, and my son-in-law all drew pronghorn tags for a unit that was pretty close to this sheep unit, so we were going to go hunt these things in September, one trip. I like to do summer scouting trips, though, when I can, and I don't always have the luxury, but when I can, especially if it's in a place I haven't been before, it really makes a difference when we get out there to hunt. Not just that, but it's fun, too, to go take those trips. Usually my family can come along. This time I planned a summer scouting trip for this sheep, and I wanted to take my son Gunner along because he's in college, wouldn't be able to go with us in September. Wyoming typically has archery season, though, before the regular season that you can participate in if you have a tag by just buying an archery license. I don't use a vertical bow anymore. I quit 15 years ago because of a back issue. But lucky me, Wyoming treats archers just like PA. You can use a crossbow out there without any special permit. So once I realized the timing would work, our scouting trip turned into a bow hunting trip pretty quickly. Time would be short, we just had a couple of days, but we'd get some intel, and if I was lucky, maybe I'd fill the tag with that crossbow instead of a gun. So we left Pennsylvania after work on the 18th of August. Gunner, my cousin Eric, who's here tonight, thank you, and I headed west. We made the drive in about 28 hours. We took a little nap stop in the wee hours of the morning. Go ahead, Merv. We left the hardtop out there about 6:30 Mountain Time. We still had 20 miles of dirt road to drive. We saw some pronghorns along the way. Good job keeping up, by the way, Merv. Around sundown, we met my cousin Ken, who actually lives in Utah. So he'd driven in from the other side of the unit. He'd seen some sheep along the way, and he had a big flock of ewes spotted up on the mountain nearly 2 miles away. If they didn't have those white butts and back legs, I don't know how you'd ever spot them from a distance. They really blend in well, and especially in low light like that, that's what you saw first when you saw sheep, was that white behind the cat. We were wore out from the drive, but we were pretty pumped that we were already seeing sheep. With the darkness coming on, we found a place to set up camp, tucked down in a little draw. It's windy in Wyoming, so we tried to find a hole and kind of crawl into that with our tent. The next morning, we ate breakfast, made coffee. Sunrise was beautiful. And then we climbed up on a little ridge just above the camp. That's the picture you're looking at now. And we glassed the mountains from there. The sheep really weren't far from where they'd been the evening before. Excuse me. We watched them for a while there. Go ahead, Merv. You can see some of them there again. All you're probably seeing is white spots, and that's their butts. We waited a while to see where they'd go. In the meantime, we were glassing up mule deer. We saw 3 bull elk. We're just having a good time. Around 9:30 in the morning, the sheep finally started settling down. So I thought, well, let's take a hike up in the mountains, see what we can see. Those hills are steep. This is only 8,500 feet, and even at that elevation, the air's kind of thin for flatlanders like us. There's no fitness buff in me, so there's no hammering. I'm just plugging along. But I had done some walking, and it was enough to keep the hunting enjoyable for me. So we followed this mule deer doe up the ridge for a little while. Before long, my cousin spotted this group of ewes that we hadn't been able to see from our morning glassing spot. They're in this picture, but I really doubt that you can see them there. Next one, Merv, there's 20 sheep in this picture. I think now you can probably see some bodies there. And in the next slide, I put some red numbers on there. So I don't know if you saw that many sheep in the first picture, but they blend in really well. We watched them just a little bit. They were across the canyon, though, pretty far. No real way to approach them straight on, so we kept climbing on up. We wanted to see more of the country anyway. Kind of kept the ridge between us and the sheep. Then we bumped the bulls that we had seen. They made a racket hustling up across there, topped the next ridge, but fortunately they were on the other side of the ridge from the sheep and didn't flush them out. So when we finally got to a place where we could cross the head of the canyon, we did that without the sheep seeing us. We got up to a saddle where we could see over to the next picture, Merv, where we could see over to the ridge where the first 40 sheep were. We glassed just a little bit and we soon saw them over there. Go ahead, Merv. I figured that this flock was probably going to stay put until the next day, and we were already on a ridge with sheep, so we decided to hunt the closer ones. We went down the ridge, tried not to skyline ourselves, kind of kept an eye on the sheep, just enjoyed the scenery. You got to while you're out there and the weather's nice. The wind was blowing hard by this time, but that's typical Wyoming. Next picture, the young rams like this one were mixed into these groups of ewes that we were seeing. And this one's probably 3 or 4 years old, so it's pretty easy to tell he's a ram. The younger ones, though, look a whole lot like the ewes that they're running with. So you really got to watch if you're only allowed to shoot a ewe that you don't shoot a 1 or a 2-year-old ram, because they look about the same with their horns. They're just a little more massive at the base, and usually they had a little more flare or width to their horns. Next slide. Ken and I tried a short stalk, you can see us in the bottom of that picture, to a rock where sheep had been bedded. When we got there, the sheep weren't there. Next picture. They were just a couple hundred yards away, and we noticed another kind of a linear rock outcropping on the other side of them. Decided maybe I could stalk in from there. So in the next picture, you can see in the upper right, there's a little black dot that's me heading down towards that dead tree. Below that dead tree, or to the left of that dead tree, you can see the rock line, and there are sheep in front of that, kind of at the lower end. I got close, could have taken a 40-yard shot at one of the ewes standing there broadside, but there were 2 lambs standing right there with her. The lambs were big enough to be on their own, but I didn't want to shoot more than one sheep or hit a lamb that I wasn't intending to. So I didn't try a shot. They're really sharp about their eyesight. I barely peeked over that rock, and I mean I just peeked a little bit, and they were on to me. The ewes are standing there looking at me like, what are you doing over there? So They didn't run immediately, but they soon got nervous and kind of moved off. So I backed out of there, tried a couple more stalks. They got a little nervous. I couldn't get closer than 70 yards, and finally Gunner looked down over the rocks at him and took this picture of them looking up at him going, oh no. And they kind of turned around and just took off down the canyon. It was obvious that we were probably done with them for the evening, but it was getting towards evening, so we had to hike back down anyway. We started day 2, same way as the day before. Glass from that little hill above camp. We couldn't see all 40 sheep, but we could see at least 20 of them up there again on that same ridge. Go ahead, Murph. Yeah, we started up the bottom of a canyon on the opposite side of that ridge that morning. We hiked up about a mile. Got to see some new country that way. Next slide, you'll see there's an elk wallow in the bottom. When we got to about that point, we had gone maybe a mile. We got up onto the ridge then because we were about where we had seen the sheep. Sheep sign on that ridge was everywhere. In the next picture you see in the lower right, that little pawed out dusty spot is a bed. There were those beds, manure tracks everywhere. When we got to that ridge line, I crawled up and peeked around a rock, and there they were. A whole 40 of them just bedded on the open slope, and they were kind of tucked lower than we were expecting, staying out of the wind. It was literally 50-mile-an-hour gusts often that day, blowing your hat off kind of wind. Next picture is just a little closer. In the wide open, there wasn't a good way to get close to them. I could get to 75 yards or so. 50 yards with that crossbow is about the max that I figured I could shoot. And with the wind blowing like that, I wasn't going to shoot nearly that far. So I circled around the ridge top, got behind a rock and a pine tree. Go ahead, Murph. Next picture yet. And I looked through that little gap in the rocks and the pines, and they were still 60 yards. And somehow, that ewe standing up that you can kind of see there spotted me or smelled me or something. The wind's blowing stuff around. I was barely moving, but somehow she just decided I'm up there and got nervous. I don't know how, but she soon was restless enough that the horde got up and they just started moving a little bit towards the bottom of the canyon. I circled around, dropped down into the canyon, tried to cut them off. Before I got to the bottom, they popped around a rock. Go ahead, Merv, next one. And were right across the canyon from me. I was in the wide open, so I just sat there. They were like 90 yards away. They grouped up, stood there in a tight bunch, and a couple of them just watched me. I waited a little bit, and then I was like, I don't have anything to lose here. I don't know how long they'll be in the open. So I just got up, just meandered down towards them. What's the worst that can happen, right? So I get to the bottom of the canyon, they're 50 yards from me, and they're still just standing there watching me. I'm thinking, oh, this might work. So I start up the canyon side that they're on. They're still standing watching me. I'm thinking they're 30, 35 yards. So I get the crossbow ready, and about that time they start, not quite sure. But they're not running hard, so I just keep walking parallel to them, below them, and they stop again. This time I'm getting close, and I range one of them standing on the edge, and she's 25 yards. I'm like, no, they're not that close. I mean, they're close, but they're not that close. So I held for 35, and I shot. She took off, ran down over, and 10 of them went with her, and the rest of them went up the ridge, maybe 100 yards, and stopped. The 10 in the bottom stood there at 50 yards, and they're all just looking around at each other, moving around, and sheep are always butting each other as soon as they stop. And none of them fell down. And after a few minutes, they all just started crossing the bottom one at a time, and I'm watching binoculars. There's no blood. There's no sick sheep. There's no licking, nothing. So they went over and just settled down like 120 yards maybe across the canyon from me, and weren't going to leave. So I started looking for blood. My friends came down. Go ahead, Merv. I'm going to get ahead of my pictures. They're laying there, standing there. Some of them were laying down across from me while I'm looking for this stuff in the wide open in their plain sight. My friends come down there in plain sight. So 4 of us bopping around. There's no blood. I didn't hit her. Go ahead, Merv, next one. By that time, I had checked, and my rangefinder was right. They were 25 yards. I probably shot over. Maybe the wind was some of that. I really shouldn't have flat out missed her at that range, even misjudging it by that amount. So I'll just own that I missed some way, somehow. And at least we were able to see all the sheep. We knew that I hadn't hit one. Next slide, Merv. No, you got ahead of me, sorry. Back up about one or two. So they had split up. The big group came back down across the canyon. They all started getting together over there. So I said to my friends, well, I guess I'll just walk over there and shoot one now. I was kind of joking, but I crossed the canyon bottom. Sheep stayed there. There was kind of a rock I could be behind, so I thought, this is great. I'll just get up there about 25 yards, peek out from behind the rock and shoot one. But as I was getting to the rock, now go to the next one, Merv. You can see me right there above the tree branch walking, I think. About that point, I realized this probably isn't going to work because they're probably going to spook when I pop out. And they did. Now go to the next one, Merv. They didn't go very far, though, again. And I was committed then, so when they stopped, next slide, Merv, I just kept walking. But I decided to try to stay above them and not walk directly after them or at them, but just kind of angle along. You know, like, don't mind me, I'm just following you. And still try to get to bow range, and I'd just stay in plain sight. I decided no more hiding. Go ahead, next one, Merv. They let me get pretty close, then they took off again. And then they stopped at the next rock outcrop before they'd go around a point. And this time I almost got a 25-yard shot. But just too much moving, I didn't take the shot. And then I got out of my buddy's sight, so don't have pictures of the next little bit. Next time I caught up to them, a few hundred yards later, they stopped behind a little rock, and I could see just a few of them looking at me. One of them decided to go back, and she ran like 20 yards below me. I'm thinking, So I just took 3-4 steps, just so they wouldn't run so fast next time, because I figured they're all going to do it now. And the first one pops out like 25 yards, and she stands there and looks at me. She had a broken horn. I was picky. So she ran past me at 15 yards. The lamb went with her. Then another broken horn came, still picky. Third one steps out, little thin horns. I really want a little bit big. I said I don't care about size, remember? BS. The next one, though, steps out, and it's a ram. And I ranged it because I wanted to be sure. It was 22 yards. Not because I was going to shoot it. 2 more ewes step out, and they're right there with him. And one of them's like, she's about like the rest we saw. Not the biggest one, but she'll do. She took about 3 more steps. She's clear by a good 6 feet. It's a pretty close shot, so I shot. She acted hit, took off, ran across the slope. There's 30 sheep going with her, flying. But I can see blood coming out of one like crazy. So she made it about 90 yards to the next little rock outcropping and tumbled over it out of sight. So I knew I at least finally had one. Next picture, Merv. So I sent a text to my buddies so they'd come join me. I walked over to those rocks, and I knew where she was, but I didn't go to her. I just sat there and waited on them. It was 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We had plenty of time. Felt like they were as big a part of the hunt as me, so I wanted them to come with me. And of course, I was holding on to my hat. The wind was blowing. Go ahead, Merv. So when they did hike up to me, we took our time, kind of celebrated success. Go ahead, Merv. The best part of hunting out west for me is the people that go with me. Next picture, Merv. It's fun hunting by myself, but something about the West is just better with other people. And these guys were a ball to hunt with. Like most new species that I hunt, this one had some surprises for me. Like the sheep were super good with their eyes. Like I expected that. Like we would barely show an eyebrow above a rock and one of them would go, "Oh, what are you doing?" I don't know how they do it, but they are real good. But they didn't really prove to be as wary as I would have expected. Like on one hand, for that day and a half when I behaved like some creepy predator, they seemed pretty elusive and safe from me and the crossbow. Like it looked like it would be easy with a gun, like you easy get to 200 yards on them. It was just closing that last little distance was tough. Go ahead. On the other hand, once I decided to drop that sinister sneaking around and to just kind of casually tag along, it seemed like the sheep started to feel like as long as they were in their little group of friends and I was where they could see me, they weren't that afraid of me. They'd just watch me. I mean, I wasn't going to walk up and pet them or anything, but they would still let me get 30 yards, and I wasn't expecting that. Next picture. Maybe that was just because this herd hasn't been hunted a whole lot, but there are 9 or 10 ram tags in that unit every year, so it's not that they never see hunting pressure either. None of all that taints this trip for me. Every time I hunt some new species, I'm constantly reminding myself, don't expect them to behave like a whitetail. For some reason, when I go out west, I'm just hunting like I'm hunting whitetails. These aren't whitetails, don't expect that. This one just reinforced that notion for me. And I think Sylvan said it too, if you get a chance to go, and I would say even if it's just for a ewe or a cow or a doe, take advantage of it. If you like hunting here, I'm sure that you're gonna enjoy the West. And the Sunday school teacher in me, I'm probably getting long here, but I gotta tell you, on the long drive home, I was thinking about how much like sheep believers are. I mean, it's in the Bible, right? We know we live in this fallen world and there's perils and dangers, pitfalls, and we can be pretty fearful about people or groups or behaviors that seem sinister or not to be trusted, sneaky. But we also get to feeling pretty safe and comfortable in our little group of church friends, don't we? As long as we're in that group of people who believe and think like me, I feel like I can let my guard down a little bit. We all know that Satan prowls around like a roaring lion, right? But if he's not identifying as a lion today, will you recognize him? Like, what if he's that guy in hunting clothes he bought at Walmart carrying a goofy crossbow? Will we decide to just stick together and keep an eye on him? As long as he operates in the open and seems to leave us alone, and if our fellow believers don't really seem concerned about it, isn't it easy to just be comfortable? The longer we do that, the longer he's there, but he's not actually hurting us, the more we start to think he's probably not gonna. I'm good. And eventually we get to that level of carelessness where we're totally vulnerable to that one fiery dart at just the right time. 1 Timothy chapter 6, Paul's been teaching Timothy about being a spiritual leader, and in verse 11 he says, "But you, man of God, flee from all this and pursue righteousness, godliness, faith, love, endurance, and gentleness." In those flocks of sheep that I hunted, there was always at least one, sometimes 3, sheep that you could tell were the leaders. They were the ones that stood there and watched and watched, and when one of them finally decided to flee, they all went. For me, I want to encourage you tonight to be one of those whistleblowers, one of those sheep that's keeping an eye on the guy with the creepy crossbow. We don't want to be sheeple, but we are kind of wired that way, so I think we have a genuine responsibility to each other to look out for each other. So I just want to challenge you to be the man or the woman who takes that responsibility seriously, who stays vigilant, who recognizes evil promptly, and then lead the flock in fleeing it. Thanks for your attention, your patience, and good hunting to each of you.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you for that little challenge at the end there. Hope you enjoyed your evening. We're just going to finish up with door prizes and we'll get you out of here. Got a few good ones yet here. Draw a number, please. Fishing rod with a reel. 535. 535. We got another R.J. Huffman hat. R.J. Huffman and Sons hat. 398. 398. Do you have 398? Right here, Oscar. Okay, another European mount. This is with beetles. This is Shade Mountain skull cleaning. This is back on Mountain Road. I think his $120 value. Again, this is with beetles. 413. 413, Eddie. Gator Guns t-shirt. 482. 482. Another fishing creel. 563. 563. Go ahead. Another steel sign. Give this to you. 494. Got a camouflage hat and some jersey gloves. Pick a number, Oscar. 548. Another Mifflinburg variety, $25. 559. Another brick of 22s. 463. 463 is right there with the brick of 22s. And 463? Oh, wait. 559. Okay. And then who gets the brick? Okay, another $25 Mifflinburg variety. 407. 407. Another archery sight. $523. 523. Okay, the last one is this is from compliments of Mifflinburg variety also. These are Danner pronghorns. Retail $260. Okay, this is size 10.5. So if the size is your size, I don't know, you probably don't have any more of these with you tonight, but you can go to their store and get what size you want. Okay? Last prize. Go ahead. $538. 538. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all for coming. If anybody, again, we talked about some desserts. If you want to take some of the desserts home, that's great. Don't forget your dishes. Please do not take a church spoon. I think we got them all taken out, though. Anybody is willing to help tear down, be very much appreciated. Have a good evening, and hope to see you next year. Thank you.